All right, so get ready, because today we're diving deep into Uranus. And I know what you're thinking. Uranus, really? Yeah, we know all about the jokes. But UT. Our listeners have requested a deep dive into Uranus and its significance beyond the, shall we say, juvenile humor.
It's true, there's a lot more to Uranus than meets the eye. It's a
Yeah.
fascinating planet, really. Full surprises.
So today we're exploring Uranus through, well, actually three different lenses. We've got excerpts from Jessica Davidson's Planet Myths, the story behind Uranus. We'll also be tapping into Estradine's article simply titled Uranus. And D, to round things out, we'll be drawing some insights from Aaron Sullivan's book, The Astrology of Midlife and Aging.
That's a great lineup. Each one offers a unique perspective on Uranus, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they all connect.
Definitely. So when we talk about Uranus and astrology, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, it's often seen as a disruptive force. You know, the planet of sudden change, breakthroughs, those moments when you feel like everything gets turned upside down.
Yeah, like those unexpected shakeups, sometimes welcome, sometimes not so much.
Exactly. Like, Davidson refers to Uranus as a cosmic alarm clock in her book.
Right.
But like anyone who's hit the snooze button a few too many times, you know those wake-up calls? They're not always pleasant.
Definitely. So we're talking about awakenings, but with Uranus, it's not always a gentle nudge in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely not. We're
Yeah.
talking about those aha moments, sure, but often with a side of chaos, of feeling like an outsider, embracing the unconventional even.
Right. Which reminds me of something else Davidson talks about in her book, the Greek myth of Uranus, or Uranos, as he's sometimes called. He was the primal creative force, the sky itself. But get this, he was terrified of his own children,
Oh, wow, really? That's right, he was. Now that's a parenting dilemma for the ages.
especially the kids who were, let's just say, a little different, the ones who didn't quite fit his idea of perfection.
Hold on, so the god of the cosmos was afraid of a little imperfection. Seems a bit ironic, don't you think?
It does, doesn't it? And that's where things get really interesting.
What was he so afraid of?
Well, it wasn't just about the kids themselves. It was more about what they represented. Change, the unknown.
Ah, I see. The potential for things to go off script.
Exactly. Uranus, even though he represents limitless potential, was really afraid of anything that might disrupt his carefully crafted order.
So in a way, he embodies that very human struggle we all face.
Yeah.
That tension between wanting things to stay the same and knowing deep down that change is inevitable.
And isn't that what Uranus is all about in astrology?
You hit the nail on the head. It's that constant push and pull between stability and upheaval.
It's like that saying, the only thing constant is change.
Exactly. And speaking of change, this is where the myth takes another interesting turn. Some scholars, like Richard Tarnas, believe that the Titan Prometheus, actually, he might be a more fitting archetype for Uranus.
Prometheus. Now, he was a real rebel.
Right. Stole fire from the gods, gave it to humanity.
Talk about defying authority.
Exactly. And that defiance, that willingness to challenge the established order, to actually benefit humankind, that aligns much more closely with how we understand Uranus in astrology.
So we've got Uranus clinging to order and Prometheus embracing disruption. It's like they represent two sides of the same Uranian coin, right?
That's a great way to put it. And I think both myths offer some really valuable insight into this planet's paradoxical nature,
Absolutely. So on one hand, you have that fear of the unknown.
That very human need for security, for control.
And on the other, you have this incredible potential for liberation, for innovation.
The excitement of embracing change.
So how do we actually connect these like grand mythical narratives to our own lives?
Right. It's not always easy to see those big cosmic forces playing out in our day-to-day, is it?
Exactly.
That's where the concept of Uranus transits comes in.
Okay, Uranus transits.
Now, before you worry, this isn't about like memorizing complicated astrological charts or anything. It's really more about understanding how this planet's energy can actually show up in our lives during very specific periods.
Okay, so it's like Uranus is making a little visit.
You could see that.
But I'm guessing it's not always with a housewarming gift, right?
Not necessarily. Think back to the myth of Prometheus for a second.
Okay, yeah, stole fire from the gods.
Right. And remember how we brought that fire to humanity?
Uh-huh.
Well, fire can be an incredibly useful thing, life-changing even, but it can also be pretty dangerous, right?
Oh, absolutely, if it's not handled with care.
Exactly. And Uranus transits are kind of like that.
Okay.
They can bring about incredible breakthroughs and amazing opportunities for growth, but they often start with a period of, well, let's just say disruption.
So they shake things up a bit.
They do. forcing us to confront maybe what's no longer working in our lives.
It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. Sometimes you just got to do it. Sometimes. And it can be painful, for sure. You know, this reminds me of what Dana Gerhardt wrote in the Astrology article we talked about.
Right, yeah.
She described her own experience with a Uranus transit. She said it was like her mother was everywhere, you know?
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. Stirring up all sorts of emotions and really forcing her to confront some pretty deep-seated family patterns.
Sounds intense.
It did sound intense, but she ultimately saw it as a period of, like, incredible personal growth.
It's like Uranus shines a spotlight on those areas of our lives where we've been maybe a little stuck, you know?
Absolutely. Or complacent, or maybe even a little blind to what's really going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes that wake-up call comes in the form of a challenging experience, a really sudden change, or even just this feeling of being deeply unsettled, you know?
So you're saying these Uranus transits, while potentially disruptive, they're ultimately pushing us towards, I don't know, like a greater purpose.
Exactly. Or even just a more authentic version of ourselves.
I like that. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. These periods of upheaval often coincide with major breakthroughs in society as well.
Oh, really?
Think about it. Remember how we were talking about Uranus being associated with innovation and change?
Yeah.
Well, that energy doesn't just play out on a personal level.
Yeah.
It influences entire cultures and even historical periods.
Interesting. So, give me an example.
Okay, well, think about the Renaissance.
Okay, yeah. Huge shift for art, science.
Exactly. This period of radical transformation in pretty much every aspect of life.
Right.
After centuries of, well, let's just say things were a little stagnant.
Right.
That period, the Renaissance, aligns with a very, very potent influx of Uranian energy.
It's like humanity itself was going through a collective Uranus transit.
Exactly.
And if we look at the world today with
Yeah.
all the rapid technological advancements and the social shifts and everything,
Right, it's changing faster than ever.
it really makes you wonder if we're in the midst of another one of those pivotal Uranian moments, doesn't it?
It really does.
Okay, so if Uranus is all about breaking free from old patterns, embracing the new, how does that work with Saturn?
Saturn.
You know, the planet of structure, of limitations.
Right, because those two seem like they'd be at odds with each other.
Exactly.
But that's where the real magic happens in the interplay between those seemingly opposing forces.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Think of it as a cosmic dance between change and structure.
So it's kind of like that old saying, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Right. There's always going to be some, I don't know, collateral damage in the pursuit of progress.
Exactly. It's like we need some structure, some boundaries even, to really channel all that Uranian energy, you know?
Absolutely. It's not about picking sides, change, or structure. It's about understanding how these energies actually work together.
Okay, so how does that work? Give me an example.
Okay, imagine this. You have this brilliant idea, a real Uranian flash of inspiration, right?
Yeah, a real light bulb moment.
Exactly. But to bring that idea into the real world, you need a plan, some structure, you know, a way to actually ground that vision.
Okay, so that's where Saturn comes in.
Exactly. Saturn helps you, I don't know, set goals, create timelines, think things through, and navigate all those inevitable challenges that come with, well, doing something new.
So, like, if Uranus is the creative visionary, Saturn is the project manager.
That's a great way to put it. And of course, like with any good team, there might be some creative differences along the way, right?
Right.
Uranus might push you to think bigger, be bolder, while Saturn's back there reminding you, okay, let's be realistic about this, what's actually achievable.
So it's through that push and pull.
That dynamic interplay.
That's how amazing things happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we're talking about, like, actually harnessing this Uranian energy in our own lives, what does that look like, practically speaking?
Well, I think it starts with becoming aware of those Uranian impulses within ourselves.
Okay, I like that.
Like when you feel that urge to break free from routine, you know, challenge the status quo, or even just explore something new that's Uranus talking to you.
So don't ignore it.
Exactly. And instead of just shutting down those impulses or letting fear hold you back,
Yeah, fear can be paralyzing.
it really can. But what if you just leaned into those feelings with a little curiosity?
Okay, so be open to it.
Yeah. Ask yourself, what might be possible if I allow myself to embrace this change?
It's like Uranus is that friend who's always encouraging you to step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. Even if it means facing a little fear or uncertainty.
Which, let's be honest, most of us try to avoid at all costs.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're saying that's where the growth happens.
It often is. And remember, embracing change, It doesn't have to be this huge dramatic thing.
Right. It doesn't have to be this big life-altering decision.
Exactly. It can be as simple as, I don't know, trying a new hobby, or finally having that honest conversation with someone you've been avoiding, or even just questioning a belief you've held for a long time.
Just being open to new possibilities.
Exactly. Both within yourself and in the world around you. Recognizing that growth, real growth, often happens when we're willing to step outside those comfort zones and embrace the unexpected.
Wow. This has been, I don't know, really eye-opening. I feel like I have this whole new perspective now on Uranus, on change, and even on like my own potential.
That's fantastic. And remember, just like Uranus, constantly moving and evolving, so are we. Each experience, each challenge, each unexpected turn in our journey. It's all an opportunity for growth and transformation.
So the next time I'm feeling that Uranian energy, that urge to shake things up.
Embrace it. You
Yeah,
never know what incredible breakthroughs might be waiting on the other side of that change.
I love that. And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next time for another cosmic adventure.